Hi, this is Sam. It's the first episode of the new CamelCast podcast. I'm doing with Jaden from Miami. Say hi, Jaden.
Hello, I'm Jaden.
Yeah, and I'm in New York. We're talking over the phone. So basically, this podcast is going to be about, we're going to read news stories and react to them and see how the conversation goes. So hit us with our first news story, Jaden.
All right, so Trump tweeted a tweet that he called not racist, but basically a lot of Republicans, Democrats, myself, and just a lot of people in the states are saying it definitely was racist. The tweet basically told four congresswomen, Aina Presley of Massachusetts, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, I'm probably butchering his name, but sorry about that. And Rashida Tlaib of Michigan, and Ilhan Omar
of Minnesota, I believe. So
yes.
Those four people, I believe, are minorities. So is that why you think this is racist? Because they're targeting towards their minorities. And that includes the two Muslim congresswomen in the U.S., Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar. So those tweets could be possibly Islamophobic.
They were directed towards minorities. So especially, the two Muslims. And basically his tweet was saying, the countries that you guys originated from and that your descent is from have many political problems and are very corrupt. So he was basically telling them to go back and address those political issues in their countries and not worry about our political issues, which is so terrible because all four of them, I believe, were United States born, and all four of them are United States citizens. And it's not they're from these countries and moved to America or anything like that. They were all born here too.
Yeah, and it's kind of ironic because Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, one of the congresswomen, she's from Puerto Rico, which is technically in the U.S. So yeah.
And then, which the House has began impeachment resolutions over the racist tweets.
Yeah, and Jaden, what do you feel about impeachment?
I think that at this point in the presidency, while I would love for him to get impeached, I think that we need to be addressing other issues. At this point, if we were going to be talking about impeachment in the first, second, or even at the beginning of this year, that's fair. But at the end of his presidency, before, the debates have already begun. We can't be talking about impeachment at this point. Right now, we need to be worrying about the Democrats becoming president next year, and we need to be worrying about just issues that we have, not impeaching Trump.
Yeah, and I think impeaching Trump might be hard because impeachment procedures have to pass through the Senate, which is Republican-controlled.
Exactly. And I think that even though most Republicans have addressed that the tweets were not okay and definitely racist, the most of his party is not going to want to impeach him because they still like him as the president.
Yeah, and I have a question. Would you think Trump would have said those tweets if those congresswomen were still minorities, but they were on the Republican Party, not the Democrat Party?
I think that it would have depended, because I definitely think that he might have if they were, because all Republicans aren't necessarily about caging, immigrants and all of that, right?
Yeah.
So I think it would have depended if they were exactly with what he was saying. But even if they were, I think he might have said something a little racist still about them. Something like maybe that they shouldn't be in our party or something like that is what I think he might have said. But then again, we'd never know. And I think it might have been directed just because they were Democrats, but, who knows?
Yeah, I know. And I mean, if they were Republicans, Trump probably wouldn't have attacked them as viciously, would have probably dog whistled something offensive. Speaking of immigrants, let's talk about the migrant detention facilities and the southern border. What do you feel about this?
I mean, I think that at the moment, I'm not saying this is right or wrong, but at the moment, crossing a border illegally is a crime, right? And that means that what happens in the United States, if you commit a crime, if you're a parent and you commit a crime, your children get taken away from you, usually put into foster care. The problem with this is crossing a border illegally shouldn't be a crime. And even if it is a crime, the crime shouldn't be sending you to jail and putting your kids in terrible detention centers. What it should be is just deportation. That's it. You go back to where you came from. That's it. There should be no jail. There should be none of that. That's not necessary. And also, it's not like these kids are being put into nice foster care. They're being put into overcrowded, terrible places. You know? They're being taken viciously from their parents.
Yeah, I know. I think the Trump administration, its goal is to dehumanize these people by thinking, like, the Trump administration's once considered sending migrant children to Guantanamo Bay. Luckily, they didn't do that, but still.
Yeah, and I think if you put this in different context, if you put these same camps and you put them in North Korea, with the same treatment of the children, the same treatment of the adults, and you put them in North Korea or a controversial country that we don't like, say Israel or, you know, a Middle Eastern country or a Muslim majority country, or Iran is probably a good example, then you see the Democrats and the Republicans saying, this is not okay, we need to go help these people. But because it's an American situation, the Republicans are like, this is okay. The Democrats are still saying it's not, but the Republicans are saying it's okay.
Yeah, I know. And I mean, these weren't children, but there was another detention facility in McAllen, Texas. And it shows the migrants. They're wearing sweaters and hoodies, even though it's like 90 or 100 degrees outside, which shows that there's no air conditioning or heating. All they have is their blankets.
Yeah, I mean, it's really sad that humans can think that it's okay to put kids in a detention center. And if you're gonna put kids, like, the kids didn't commit a crime. If you're gonna separate kids, at least be nice to the kids. They don't need to be in detention centers. They didn't commit the crime. If you're gonna separate them, at least put the kids in foster care or in a nice place for them to live. Like, don't put them in a detention center where they're getting raped and sexually abused.
Yeah, and how do you feel about many Republicans and Democrats saying the problem is in the countries they're moving from, where they're like, the countries, they're poor, they're riddled with civil war? How do you feel about that?
You know, I think that they definitely, like, that is a problem. Like, it's, like, Mexico and a lot of the countries, like the Central American countries, they are pretty poor. And I'm going to put myself in their shoes. If I were to live there, and I were to be low class, barely making it by, I would want to make it to America. But the problem is, it's so hard to get to America on a visa. It's so hard to get citizenship. It's so hard to get a visa or even a green card. It's so hard to get to America that crossing the border illegally would just make sense. And I think that crossing the, like, I'm not going to go ahead and say that we should just open our borders and let everyone in. We can't do that. All right? We just can't. But I'm also not going to say that it's okay what's happening now. There needs to be some sort of middle ground.
Yeah, I agree with that too. I think we should make a lot of deals with these countries so they can better, their systems. But again, I have a very isolationist view on foreign policy, so I don't think we should put some quasi-colonialist rule on these countries and they're like...
I definitely agree. We can't put some sort of colonialist reign on these countries. But, the best way to tackle an immigration problem is not to say, hey, it's not to put a wall up, or it's not to force somebody out of the country or separate their children. I think the best thing to do is to say, hey, let's make a deal with these countries. Let's help these countries help their population. Because if with these immigrants, if you have their population in a better situation to succeed, then instead of them wanting to come into the country, they're okay with staying where they are, and we don't have an immigration problem.
Yeah, well, I mean, that is kind of true, but it was kind of boggled to me because these immigrants, it must be sad because they are leaving their country to seek for a better life, but now they're also probably living in poverty, working minimum wage jobs in some urban area in like a poverty-ridden area.
I think that's a misconception though, because I think they're coming in obviously to have a better life. But, well, in both cases, their life might not be great. In country one where they're from, they might be living in a shack versus here where they might get like an average apartment building. And even if, it's the same quality of life, in America, you have a higher chance of saying, hey, I'm going to start a business and it's going to succeed, right? Rather than in a country like Mexico or Guatemala or Venezuela,
Yeah. So,
I think that's the main reason immigrants come to America.
Yeah, to seek for better lives. Well, so did you know that with the problem with deporting, which a lot of probably do, is once immigrants are deported to the country they're from, say Mexico, they can't get a life. Mexico and the community just rejects them because they're deported from America.
I think that that's obviously a terrible thing, and I think the best thing to do is just deport them, but I think that if somebody, say I was an immigrant, and I get deported, now all of a sudden I have no chance at getting a green card or getting a visa or getting citizenship. And it's such little chance because now this country says I'm a criminal because I illegally crossed the border, which I'm not a criminal. And I think that shouldn't happen. I think it should just be you're deported, whatever, okay, done. Now, clean slate, you can still try to get a visa. Now, if you're caught illegally crossing the border a second time, then yes, you cannot get a visa or a green card again because that's fair. But I think it needs to be, there needs to be a clean slate and that you need to have the same chance of getting into the country.
Yeah, in Europe, they're kind of facing the same problem with the refugees that come from Africa and the Middle East from all the wars. But see, in Europe, since they recognize they're fleeing from a conflict, they either have two options, let them in or don't let them in. Some countries like Germany decided to let them in, and some countries like Poland decided to not let the refugees in, which is a whole different story. But with America, it's different because Americans aren't really recognizing the conditions these immigrants are fleeing from.
Yeah, and America, the Trump administrations have gotten rid of DACA, which is, for any of you guys that don't know, is a law that basically says that if you come into the country undocumented and you are working, contributing to society, paying taxes, and have no criminal record, you cannot be deported, and you have the right to live here. Now, obviously, you get deported if you commit a crime or if, you are not paying taxes or something like that. But, as he's gotten rid of DACA and these ICE raids are going on, these people that have lived here, maybe even born here, that have been working and paying taxes and have no criminal record are getting deported.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I think we should abolish ICE, because when ICE, they come, so basically, if an immigrant gets, pulled over for a speeding ticket and they have an unpaid one, they go to jail. Then they found out they're undocumented, so ICE, they send a request where it's like, can we come please deport this guy? And the police can either let them or not let them. But then if they let them, then the community is going to be scared that if you report a crime to a police officer, you might get deported. So that's why in Latino communities and Hispanic communities, they have such high crime rates because no one ever talks about those because they're all afraid they might get deported.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, and that's definitely true. And I think we need a version of ICE. We need an immigration and customs control. We have to have that. Now, ICE is not doing it correctly. We shouldn't have people getting their houses raided and, people who've been living here their whole lives and serving the community getting deported. This just can't happen. We definitely need immigration and customs control, but the way it's done is terrible.
Okay, so speaking of ICE, garlic bread. What's your opinion on garlic bread?
Garlic bread. Garlic bread is not very good. I do not like garlic bread.
Well, that sounds like a you problem. Anyway, back to politics. Okay, so how do you feel about Israel? This is another controversial topic.
I haven't really looked at a lot of the news for Israel. I don't really have an opinion on it, so I can't really answer that question.
Well,
I answer that question.
I sure do. So I think that, see, Israel's our ally, but I think the U.S. the U.S. should probably stop their Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, from committing war crimes and genocide against innocent civilians in places like Palestine and Gaza, where Israel is illegally occupying them. And, I mean, it might come across as a bit anti-Semitic, which I think is a lie spread by the Republican Party, that anyone who denounces Israel is anti-Semitic, which is spread to Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, because people are calling her anti-Semitic for criticizing Israel, and she's a Muslim, which also,
All right. Let's move on to the topic of El Chapo getting sentenced to life in U.S. prison.
So, say something.
I mean, he'll probably escape, but, no, let's talk about there. Just figured I'd mention that. Alright. So, back to the subject of illegal immigration. Do you have anything else to say about that?
I don't. So, what should we talk about next?
So Tom Sayers, how do you pronounce that guy's name? Tom Sayers, Seller, I don't know. I'm not pronouncing his name, but he announced his candidacy for 2020 presidency this week on Tuesday, so I guess yesterday as of today. What are your thoughts on that?
On the candidates?
Tom Sayers announcing his candidacy for 2020 presidency.
Oh, Tom Sayers, I don't know pronounce his name. But I think that he's way too gimmicky because he won't do any real change. And he's just a centrist, and I think he runs way too much off his idea of an impeachment. And a few months ago, he said he wouldn't run for president, but now he's running. So, yeah.
Yeah. I'm actually a member of his website, Need to Impeach.
Oh,
I think
really?
the few things, I am. I think the few things that are going to stop him from becoming president is, first of all, he entered the candidacy so late. It's going to be so hard for him to promote himself, even with the debate coming up in like 13 days or 14 days. It's going to be so hard for him to promote himself because you look at some of the first candidates to join in the race. You've got like Beto O'Rourke and, even like Elizabeth Warren or Bernie Sanders, who we knew were going to run for 2020 once they lost 2016. Like when Bernie lost in 2016, we already knew he was almost definitely going to run in 2020. So he's had so much opportunity to publicize himself, especially considering he ran in 2016. But even if he hadn't, he has had so much opportunity to, publicize himself and get his name out there and what he stands for.
Oh, yeah, and who do you think is most likely to win the Democratic nomination?
I think it's going to be Bernie or Buttigieg.
I think it's either going to be Bernie, or Kamala Harris, because Joe Biden already flopped because of the first debates and how he did a terrible job. And Kamala Harris is now rising because she said she supported Medicare for all in this kind of sort of way. So I think, Kamala Harris is rising, so it's between those two.
Kamala Harris was my favorite, and I think that the Democratic elections and just any presidential election in America, the debates are very unfair because look at people like Andrew Yang or Marianne Williamson who are running for president, right? But neither of them have political experience and neither of them are doing well in the polls. And because of that, they get barely any speech time, which doesn't let them rise in the polls.
Yeah.
Like Bernie, who's already high in the polls, he's getting all this time to talk, which is getting him so high in the polls.
Yeah, but Andrew Yang, his following is mostly online. They call themselves the Yang Gang. Not necessarily part of that, but he has a unique view in the election where he isn't that left-leaning, but he's definitely libertarian, so he can appeal to a lot of people on the internet.
I still think the problem is they don't talk enough in the elections, which makes it very hard for us to learn who they are. In the debate. And it's annoying, but you see that I think those people who are at the bottom and don't as much need to go out of their way to be candidacies and rallying and making everybody know who they are. Like, they should be posting YouTube videos they should be.
Okay, unfortunately, that is time. Bye-bye. See you in the next episode of CamelCast. Thank you very much.